Okay. I will call a meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by making reference to United Nations Day. At least a couple of us who have done work at the UN level. Today, October 24th, the anniversary of the Charter of the United Nations was dedicated in 1948 to be devoted to making known to the peoples of the world the aims and achievements of the United Nations and gaining support for its work. It does tremendous work in a wide range of fields, from refugees through humanitarian services. And today, in fact, is United Nations Day. I looked for my United Nations tie, but I couldn't find it. But I'm heartbroken. I am. Mr. Clerk.
Shall I save you? Item 1 is minutes of the regular council meeting held on Monday, October 17th. Recommendation to approve.
Moved by Councillor O'Neill, second by Councillor Marsden. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 2 is meeting notes of the Coquitlam River Watershed Roundtable Core Committee meeting held on Wednesday, June 22nd. Recommendation to receive.
Moved by Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Zerillo. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 3 is minutes of the Sustainability and Environmental Advisory Committee meeting held on Tuesday, September 20th. Recommendation to receive.
Moved by Councillor Asmundson, the chair, seconded by Councillor Marsden. Oh, it was Wilson. Sounded a lot like Marsden. Okay. Councillor Wilson, who's the vice chair, all in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 4 is meeting notes of the Coquitlam River Watershed Roundtable Core Committee meeting held on Wednesday, September 21st. Recommendation to receive.
Moved by Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Zerillo. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Item 5 is minutes of the Maillardville Commercial and Cultural Revitalization Advisory Committee meeting held on Thursday, October 6th. Recommendation to receive.
Moved by Councillor Wilson, the chair, second by Councillor Hodge, the vice chair. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item of business arising out of that committee's meeting concerns Société francophone de Maillardville feasibility study. This is an OB item from that committee's meeting, and the committee's recommendation is that council study the potential of a francophone cultural center in Maillardville to be adjacent to the proposed new Place Maillardville or other visible location in the Maillardville neighborhood.
Moved by Councillor Reid, second by Councillor Zerillo, to study the issue. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Second item of business arising out of that committee's meeting concerns the committee review discussion. And the committee recommendation is that council reconsider its decision to discontinue the Maillardville Commercial and Cultural Revitalization Advisory Committee at the end of 2016, and that the committee continue to meet on an annual or as required basis.
Moved by Councillor Marsden, second by Councillor Asmundson to receive. No discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 6 pertains to the minutes of the council and committee meeting held on Monday, October 17th. These minutes were approved earlier this afternoon. However, the committee had an item of business, and that is that the city support Councillor Zerillo's participation on standing committees of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the costs associated thereof.
Moved by Councillor Asmundson, seconded by Councillor Hodge. That would be the past and future expenses related to those committees. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. With our thanks.
Item 7 is the first item from this evening's public hearing. It pertains to zoning amendment bylaw number 4700, and the addresses are 960 and 964 Walls Avenue. Staff recommendation is that council give second and third readings to City of Coquitlam zoning amendment bylaw number 4700.
Moved by Councillor O'Neill, second by Councillor Towner. Councillor Zerillo.
So just one comment about the parking. I'm sorry to have to say it, but please make sure that these are usable parking spots. I've seen some around in the Maillardville area where the third parking spot is actually not, you can pull into it maybe, but you can't get the doors open. So if we could just make sure that these are usable spots so that the cars don't flow out onto the street. Thank you very much.
Just picturing someone climbing out of the car window, just like something out of a television show in the 70s. Magnum PI, you think it was? And I was thinking Dukes of Hazzard. Okay, any other comments? Any other questions? The question is second and third reading, all in favor, opposed, carried unanimously.
Next item, item 8, is pertains to zoning amendment bylaw number 4716 and 961 Walls Avenue and a portion of LeBleu Street. Not LeBleu Street, but the property next door fronting LeBleu. Staff recommendations that council give second, third, and fourth and final readings to City of Coquitlam zoning amendment bylaw number 4716.
Moved by Councillor Towner, second by Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Zerillo.
Comments here, especially since the widths at the back are even narrower, and I think there are some restrictions for distance from the creek, and so we may be in a position where the garage will have to be in a different position too. So I'm just asking that these parking spots are usable so cars don't flow out onto the street. Thank you.
Actually, I have a question along those lines. Is it possible to access parking, some of the parking spaces at least, from the north-south lane? You did mention that? Yeah. I'm trying to remember what was said about that.
Yeah, through your worship, there is potential to possibly look at that for the proposed lot on the westerly side. There is a potential to look at access to the garages off the north-south lane versus the east-west lane. So, yes.
Okay, so that could allow squeezing a little bit of space and perhaps address the last concern that was voiced. Okay, the question is second, third, and fourth and final reading. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 9 is first report of staff. It concerns zoning text amendment bylaw number 4714 and the C6 casino commercial zone at 2080 United Boulevard. Staff recommendations that council give first reading to City of Coquitlam zoning text amendment bylaw number 4714. The bylaw number 4714 be referred to public hearing, and that the following items be required prior to consideration of fourth and final reading to bylaw number 4714. And this is A, issuance of an amended development permit, and B, Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure approval of bylaw number 4714.
Moved by Councillor Asmunsen, second by Councillor Towner. Are we perhaps rushing this hotel thing a bit? Okay, any discussion related to first reading and a public hearing? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 10 pertains to final reading to zoning text amendment bylaw number 4698 and the development permit authorization for an industrial building at 14 King Edward Street, formerly 2 King Edward Street. Staff recommendations that council give fourth and final reading to City of Coquitlam zoning text amendment bylaw number 4698. 2, authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement amending those portions of the development agreement between Fraser Mills Properties and the city, dated for reference November 3rd, 2008, discussed in the report before you. And 3, approve the signing and sealing of the development permit for 14 King Edward Street, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute this permit on behalf of the city.
Moved by Councillor Asmunsen, seconded by Councillor Hodge. Councillor Wilson.
In the report, it talks about the unused density being transferred to Lot 7A. And I'm trying to remember correctly, when we talked about this, there wasn't a clear understanding of how that unused density might be used. Has there been any kind of discussion or any clearer identification of how that might be used?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilson, As council will recall, the excuse me, the applicant or the owner, BD Development, is currently putting together a package of proposed changes to the zoning, development permit, development agreement for the site, and through that exercise, they will, I believe, come back to council, and they will come back to council and illustrate how they propose to reallocate the unused density.
So we're considering this without knowing. I guess that's the bottom line.
The current text rezoning proposal is essentially to allow for the applicant to be able to get the development permit and build a purpose-built building for AG Hair on Lot 1A, and the sort of the unused density is been moved to Lot 7A, which essentially is a parking lot currently for the unused density, and the applicant will, as I said earlier, will need to sort of demonstrate to council how they propose to utilize that unused density through the on Lot 7A and or the balance of the industrial properties through the subsequent applications, which are need to be submitted by December 1st to staff.
Okay. I also had a question about the variance of 1.5 meters, I believe it is, on the western side of the building. And it says here that they need that in order to accommodate the process flow and equipment orientation. So it's a 60,000 square foot building. Seems like 1.5 meters. Could have probably figured out how to make that work. Have we given 1.5 meter variances to the buildings to the south of it as well? I can't remember.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilson, no, the buildings to the south do comply with the setback requirements of the zone.
Okay. Thank you.
Nobody else? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, before we do that, I've got a couple of announcements I'd like to make. One of them relates, well, both of them relate to outstanding Coquitlam students that have been honored recently, and we'll start with Kelvin. Kelvin Zhang, he's a Glen Eagle student who just won the Canada-wide Science Fair, a gold medal and $5,000 in awards. By using coding, you create an algorithm that works like a human brain. The algorithm controls a virtual car, and the car can, without ever knowing how to drive, without never having driven or being programmed to drive, can learn how to drive. And he has demonstrated this algorithm, and I suspect he's on his way to someplace spectacular, working on a tech field for self-driving vehicles or some similar thing. So we want to congratulate Kelvin. And this one here, this is April Reese, Coquitlam student grade 10 at Pine Tree Secondary, who's representing Coquitlam tomorrow. She's an Ice Age Art Contest winner. She's representing Coquitlam tomorrow as a BC Royal Museum Youth Ambassador in Victoria. And so I should have sent her with the chain of office or something so that I could appear smart. But anyway, so that's April Reese from Coquitlam and Kelvin Zhang from Coquitlam, both students right here at Pine Tree Secondary and Glen Eagle Secondary. Congratulations on behalf of council to them. Did someone else have something? No? Okay. The motion to adjourn was by Councillor Asmundson, seconded by Councillor Hodge. No. Oh, Councillor O'Neill. Hodge wants to stay. Motion is to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? And we are completely unanimous on all items tonight. I will now open the floor